welcome to our next video. In this one, we are going to cover a little bit about comments and multi-line comments, but most importantly, we're going to be covering docstring and how that functions. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking the code from the last episode, which was the modulo. We're going to functionalize it real quick, just to have a function, and then I'll show you some of the different ways we can comment our code. Now, I am a huge proponent of having simply clean code where you shouldn't have to have large amounts of comments, or at best you shouldn't have to have any comments. But there's always going to be a case where maybe you need to be clear about what a module or a function or a class or something does, and then some kind of, large comment inside the either above it or as the first statement, that kind of thing. Python actually gives us something that we can access to do just that, called the docstring. But let's go ahead and first start by taking this and turning this into a function. So we're going to def even or odd. There we go. Now, comments in Python have a couple of formats. The primary one is to use the hash sign, or the pound sign, or the number sign, whichever you want to call it. You can see in my text editor, it turns into a gray color. This usually denotes some kind of a comment. So this is ignored in code. It's not rendered. In order to do multiple lines, we can simply bridge that with another hash sign. This is also ignored. 2 + 2, print, and let's go ahead and run that. Whoop. As you can see, the 2 + 2 is not printed because it is a comment. Now, let's go ahead and take a look real quick here at multi-line comments. Now, this is also kind of interesting because what we use for multi-line is triple quotes. As you can see, this whole thing turned into a comment. This is a multi-line comment. Let's go ahead and break this down like that. As you can see, we still don't have any outputs or anything. We can also place code in here and nothing will render. That's because it's being ignored. So let's just go ahead and, just for proof, go ahead and say print 3 + 3. And still we don't have anything in there. So these are two different styles. Now we can also use, by the way, triple double quotes like that. This also works. There you go. A lot of the times in Python, people will use the triple double quotes because it simply looks nice. And so if you are defining, like schema, database commands below, or something like that, that's a pretty nice way of doing it. You could do something like that, and it looks pretty, it's attractive looking. So let's go ahead and talk about that docstring now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these comments that we already have, and we're going to run our function. We're going to say even or, and then we're going to pass in num, and then num is going to be used here, and our number will be 3. And then let's just go ahead and run that and make sure that it works. So let's go ahead and add what's known as a docstring here. Now I'm going to add 6 quotes. That's opening and closing a multi-line comment here. And what this is going to do is I'm going to say function to determine if a number is even or odd. Okay. Now that I've done that, if I come and run our code, you'll see that there's still no outputting of that. So that's perfectly fine. That's what we want. However, let's go ahead and take a look here and say print even or odd doc. You'll see here that it actually printed out that first comment that we added right up here. Now, why did it do that? That's because the very if the very first command in a function, class, module, or document in general is a multi-line comment like that, it is going to consider this first comment to be what's known as the docstring. And the docstring is just a short of saying documentation string. And so if you want to document what it does, what the functionality is, why it exists, that's where you put it, is in a multi-line quote. Now, it doesn't have to be specifically multi-line, but it can be. If we go ahead and do that and load our code, you'll see that it retains its multi-line structure. But I'm not going to make it multi-line unless it goes past our 80 column kind of standard width. Now, this kind of brings us to the underscore doc command here. This attribute is automatically added by Python to everything that supports it. And this is just the easy way of getting the docstring itself. And that's the accessor to it. Feel free to make use of these. There's a lot of tools out there as well and packages that will even take these definitions, these docstrings, and actually turn them into real documentation that will document your whole structure of your application and whatnot. And so there's all kinds of very powerful things that you can do with this, even though it's just a really simple idea to start with. So I hope you learned something. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.